marriage of the century. We are here at the White House for another edition of On the Record. And we are going on the record today about what is going on with the election. How high are the stakes? Joining me, I'm so happy for the first time, is Miss Blankson. She is the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer for the NAACP. Now, they handle a lot of stuff that's going on. Y'all got a lot of work this year.
Yes, we do.
Thank you for joining me. How are you doing, first of all?
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. We are just about 25 days away. It is happening. It is happening. It is happening.
It is happening, which that goes against even some of the misinformation and disinformation. The election is happening. It is going to happen. We talk about that, less than 25 days out until the election, and just getting over Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, and we were already seeing a lot of attacks on voting rights, period. I know the NAACP has filed numerous lawsuits to help with voter protection. Let's talk about what you guys have been working on.
Yeah, we have right now at least 12 that are active, 12 cases that are active in states like Wisconsin, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Florida, for any number of reasons. One, the moving people off the rolls, and there are a couple of lawsuits that say, hey, we can't be moved off these rolls. And so, when we vote in numbers, people then try to attack us and push us back. And so many state legislatures have put in concerted efforts to remove people from the rolls, and we say, no, not on our watch. And then with the hurricanes and natural disasters, they need to extend the registration deadlines.
South Carolina did, but Florida and Georgia are saying
no. Right. And so we have to push back against that, because we know that there are people that wait till the last minute to register, and they need to be able to do that. That is perfectly within their right to be able to do that. And so we have all the lawsuits, and not only do we have lawsuits now, we are watching. So we have a whole election protection team that is watching, and even on election day, we have folks that are watching, that we'll have a number that people can call in and report any issues, so that if we need to file a lawsuit, we can file a lawsuit to make sure that our voices are heard, that our votes are counted, and that nobody is silencing our voices.
Are you all getting a lot of calls or people emailing or trying to get in touch with you right now because they're trying to figure out what's going on with polling locations, or are dates being moved? What are some of the things that you're hearing on the ground from constituents across the U.S.?
So we have a whole program that is knocking on doors, that is sending text messages, that has mail pieces, especially in those critical states. So our whole program is based on research and based on where are those places where a small change in turnout makes a substantial and material difference. And so we are focused there. We are focused on, we have radio ads and mail pieces and all of these things to make sure that people know when the registration deadlines are, when early voting starts, and what they can do within their rights if they need to have a provisional ballot and things like that.
What is some of the, and I know this is a part of you guys put $20 million in to help with get out the vote efforts across 12 states, and including those battleground states. What are some of the most egregious things that you're seeing? We're about to call people out. What are they doing?
Well, Georgia is a particular case. And we saw, in the last election, Georgia became a critical state. And, when some of the states go from, as we say, from red to blue or purple, or then it becomes contentious, right? You're not going to be able to call the state district attorney and ask for 11,000 votes, and so they're putting things in place to help that.
So they don't have to certify.
So they don't have to certify, and we have to stand against that. And we tell folks, go to the polls, go vote. We say all the time, vote. But it is important that in addition to your going to vote, that we know that your vote is going to be counted, right? And that they're not going to somehow take you off the roll in the last minute just because that's what they want to do.
There was a documentary called Vigilantes by Greg Palast, who has really been tracking a lot of this. And in the documentary, he finds a woman in Georgia who was responsible for knocking 32,000 names off the roll. 32,000. And I think it's so important. Most of us who vote often think our vote is secure. But I really want people, I mean, are you encouraging people get a plan?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely make a plan. And we say, you know, if you're not registered, register. If you are registered, check that registration. Check that registration and make sure it is still that you know your polling place, you know the dates and times. Make a plan. You know, it is easy to say yes, yes, yes. On November 5th, I'm going to go vote. But then that day comes and all kinds of life happens, right? And so you should know, am I voting early? Do I have to send in something earlier? You know, am I going to go on that day? What does that day look like for me?
I need people to vote early in this year. I really want people to do that. I want to shift a little and talk about a poll that the NAACP put out and found that 25% of Black men under the age of 50 are leaning towards Trump right now. What do you feel? What did you feel when you as we're seeing this trend?
Well, so I appreciate you asking that question. It's a challenging question because what the polls are saying is that folks are frustrated with the system. Folks are frustrated with the process. Folks are frustrated with perhaps either party, right? If my life is in a particular state in a particular way, I'm going to be frustrated. And so for us, it's not about a particular person or a particular party or even a particular candidate. It is, how do I participate in this democracy? And that is what we need to hear, and not, 25% are voting for a particular candidate. That's not what they're saying at all. And if that's what we're hearing, we're going to miss it, right? That's what we're going to miss it. I think it is also, it is difficult to sort of continue to harp on Black men, Black men, Black men. We need to hear what Black men are saying, but this notion that, 85% of Black women are voting for one candidate and, some percentage of Black men are voting for a different candidate. We don't have that expectation of any other ethnic group, that 100% of that ethnic group votes for the same party. And why we put that on us is challenging to me, right? It is important that we understand and sort of dig into the polls to understand what Black men are actually saying and not attach it to a particular candidate, because that's a fallacy. I'm saying that right now, that's a fallacy.
I love how you kind of frame that, because I was speaking with a group of young men who were kind of on the fence about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, like you said, I just haven't felt like I've been seen. I felt like I haven't been heard, and I felt like other groups had been talked to and I'm being missed. But you want to ask me this question all the time. Yeah. Come back after the election and ask me how I'm feeling. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I love that. We got to check up on our brothers.
Yes, yes, yes.
I want to look back a little bit to 2020. How do you see that the 2020 election kind of reshaped this time that we are in now?
I mean, the 2020 election in some ways brought the progress of the first African American Asian vice president. It brought, the first Black woman Supreme Court justice, right? And in so many ways, that is progress. That is so much progress that some people feel threatened, right? And so when you see something like a Project 2025 that is a whole structure to push us back, that is because of 2020 and the push forward. 2020 also saw, an uprising where we said Black lives do matter, and corporations saying, yes, we want to take responsibility and accountability. And then the blowback happens.
Yeah.
Right? The blowback happens, as we've seen over and over and over in history, and the blowback happens, and we're in the middle of that now. But I think for us, the statement that we can make in this election is to say, we're not having any of that. We're still pushing forward. I think one of the things the NAACP is going to be really focused on in the next year is just the theme of keep advancing. We have to continue to move forward, even when the headwinds come. And the headwinds are here, and they are coming, and it is a concerted effort. But our job can't be to be divided or distracted or disengaged. We have to continue to move forward.
When we talk about moving forward, so much is at stake in this election. For you, top of mind, when we make that list about what is at stake, what list do you begin to rattle off for you?
So when you think about a state like Maryland, where there's a Senate race that is going to matter, right? It's gonna matter, and what the Congress looks like is going to determine what a president is able to do.
And I think there's a huge civic lesson that I think America just really needs to go. I wish we could bring that, first of all, back into the school system, because people, we talk about the top of the ticket. We don't look always at that down ballot, which matters. And just like you said, I remember when President Barack Obama got in office, and as soon as he did, Mitch McConnell said, we're not going to pass nothing. We're not letting nothing through. And people really need to understand how power is balanced in this nation.
Yeah, in some ways it's a package deal. When you have that package, then things can actually move. The George Floyd Policing Act or the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, all of these things that we have on the docket that we need to get passed. The president can't do that by themselves, right? And so it requires a Congress that's also going to act and also going to bring things to the floor. And so for me, it is, yes, we need to elect the right president, and we also need to get people in Congress, regardless of party, that are about our agenda.
Right. This year, I've been saying it, most people have been saying it, that this year also is really about our judges.
Yeah.
Like, when you talk about what is at stake, what can really reform, we saw what happened with DEI. Yeah. We saw what happened with affirmative action. Yeah. We see what's happening with the criminal justice system, period, as a whole. Yeah. How do you frame that when you are out and talking with this get out the vote?
And interestingly, in our polls, the criminal justice reform was one of the top issues, and followed secondly by economics, right? And so this notion of fairness and justice and being able to have your fair day in court, right? And that we're not, being arrested disproportionately, and that we can have our full hearing. And the previous administration put all kinds of judges in place that in some ways don't serve our interests at all, and in fact take us back. They take us back. When we think about the Supreme Court and rolling back Roe versus Wade, and these are things that have been sort of codified, and they're sort of part of the structure of our democracy, and to roll even that back and not think anything about it.
And all of that is in Project 2025. Like the whole game plan is, I don't let anybody try to walk them, that it is a part of 2025. And we are seeing in real time some of that already being rolled out. Yeah. So it's not like it starts in 2025. It has been starting already.
There is an organized and concerted and strategic effort. Right, but there always has been. There always has been. It is not on a whim. Right. There is a long-standing, folks like the Heritage Foundation, and they have whole think tanks that are set up to roll back. Right.
Roll back.
Right. And so for us, it is continuing that drumbeat, continuing that economic progress, or even something like banning the books. What can we do about that? Continue to teach our own history, right? And we talk about teaching civics. If we're not even teaching the basics of what American history is, right? And so education is the bedrock of democracy. And if you say you don't want education, you don't want full education, what are you actually saying about the democracy? Well, okay, so So it is, and you're so right in that this election really is about not the parties or the people, but the policies, whether we're having a living wage, and whether our children can get a good education, right? And that the democracy is for all, Black men, Black women, our children, everybody, that everybody can participate fully in the process.
Absolutely. As we close, well, first, thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for the fight, honestly, with NAACP really being at the forefront with joining other civic organizations in these lawsuits. And I know you guys fight tirelessly day in and day out. In this position, marketing and communications, what is it that you really like? Where's your sight set right now in this position? What do you want to see happen?
So a couple of things. One, to continue to uplift our community, educate our community. As you say, as soon as we have a new president, attacks are going to start, right?
The work begins
the work begins. The work begins, right? The work begins, and depending on the outcome, you don't know what's going to happen, right? And so we have to prepare for that in some way. We have to prepare for any eventuality, and it may mean that we are able to pass some of the agenda items that we have top of the list, or it may mean that we have to batten down the hatches and really protect against the rollbacks. Something as simple. Somebody said the other day, if I get elected, you don't have to vote again. This is a real sentence that was set out there, right? And so we hear these things and we can't take them as haphazard.
Right.
That means we have to get ready for that fight, because that's really what it's going to be about, right? And then on the other side, we also have to be proactive in opening up opportunities. When something like the Fearless Fund or Arian Simone is attacked, right? And that is also just restricting our opportunities. And so that is the work, and that is the fight, right? And that we have to continue to push forward, even to secure and maintain the 1%. That is a fight. Ebony.
Sometimes you just gotta sit for a second. Like we know these things. You work in this, you know it. You see it day in and day out. You fight against it. But even repeating it and going over it again, it's like, are we really here? We are. We must continue to fight. As we leave, I just want you to give a word of encouragement to people who feel there's like a heaviness even around this time as we go to the polls. Even for people who are in the trenches doing the work day in and day out. Just a little encouragement.
I think there's hope, right? I think there's hope. I think there's optimism. I think if we can get across the finish line, there are some opportunities and there are some things that we can pass that's going to help relieve some of this pressure, right? And that we can start businesses. One of the things the NAACP has been doing over the last few years is canceling student debt, right? And we know that the federal government employs a lot of people, right? And so even that little bit of debt relief that then allows you to buy a home or start a business, even that helps. And so can we do more of that? Can we do more of these things that give us opportunity? Can we do more of the things that not only give us opportunity, but educate and inform in a way that we can leverage that and multiply that much more?
For those who, and I'm like a preacher, I did say that was the last one, but I do want to say, for those who question the work and the purpose of NAACP, what do you say?
So we have both a proactive mission to open opportunities, and we have a reactive mission to smack them in the mouth when they need to be smacked. Okay.
I love you. I do. You keep it real, but you do the work.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Abba Blankson, thank you so much for joining me on the record here at the White House
Thank you,
with American Urban Radio Networks. And please let us know anything else you all have coming up on the horizon. And we are in the fight, in the trenches too, even here at the White House.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ebony. Thank you for having me.
Look, we just wrapped another one of our On the Record segments here at the White House. Be sure that you tune in, see our other interviews, and watch to see what AURN has coming on the horizon.